Bhagavate Vasudevaya Narayana Namaskritya Naram Cha Narottama Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamutire Nashti Prayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavatu Sevaya Bhagavati Uttam Shloke Bhakter Bhavati Naistiki. So continuing with the discussion on Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 24, chanting the song sung by Lord Shiva, text number 64 onwards. So Lord Shiva is further speaking, Srishtam Swashaktedam Anupravishtash Chaturvidham Puram Atma Anshakena Atho Vidustam Purusham Santamanta Bhukte Rishikar Madhu Saragam Yaha. My dear Lord, after creating by your own potencies, you enter within the creation in four kinds of forms. Being within the hearts of the living entities, you know them and know how they are enjoying their senses. The so-called happiness of this material creation is exactly like the bee's enjoyment of honey after it has been collected in the honeycombs. The material cosmic manifestation is an exhibition of the external energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But because dull matter cannot work independently, the Lord Himself enters within this material creation in the form of a partial expansion, Paramatma. And He enters also by His separated parts and parcels, the living entities. In other words, both the living entities and the Supreme Personality of Godhead enter into the material creation just to make it active. So without the Lord's enter into it, the material creation into all the atoms in the form of Paramatma, the activity does not start. So when He enters, that's what Prabhupada said, dull matter cannot work independently. So when the Lord enters as Paramatma, then the activity starts. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, besides this inferior nature, O mighty armed Arjuna, there is a superior energy of mind, which consists of all living entities who are struggling with the material nature and are sustaining the universe. Since the material world cannot work independently, the living entities enter into the material manifestation in four different types of bodies. The word Chaturvidham is significant in this verse. There are four types of living entities born within this material world. Some are born by the way of an embryo, Jarayuja, by the way of eggs, Andaja, perspiration, Svedaja, and like the trees by the way of seeds, Ubhija. Regardless of how these living entities appear, they're all busy in the pursuit of sense enjoyment. So this is the basic nature of living entities. Everybody wants sense enjoyment, no matter which species we are in, how we are born. The materialistic scientist's contention that living entities other than human beings have no soul is nullified herein. Whether they are born through an embryo, egg, perspiration, or seeds, all living entities in the 8,400,000 species of life are parts and parcels of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And each, therefore, is an individual spiritual spark and soul. The Supreme Personality of Godhead also remains within the heart of the living entity, regardless of whether the living entity is a man, animal, tree, germ, or microbe. So Paramatma is there in coronavirus also. The Lord resides in everyone's heart, and because all living entities who come to this material world do so in order to fulfill their desires for sense enjoyment, the Lord directs the living entities to enjoy their senses. Because man or human beings' consciousness is more developed than the other entities So what happens is the living soul in the soul in the human form tries to enjoy the senses more than the others because he wants to enjoy all his senses. Other they can enjoy few of their senses, not all, because they're not that conscious. Their consciousness is not that developed. But since we are in the topmost um, tier of the pyramid, so we try to enjoy more, and then we get entangled more also. So Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Sarvasya Chaham, I'm seated in everyone's heart, and from me come remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. So the Lord resides in everyone's heart, and because all living entities who come to this material world do so in order to fulfill their desire for sense enjoyment, because those desires were not fulfilled or partially fulfilled in the previous lifetimes. So the desires are still there in the heart. So the Lord directs the living entities to enjoy their senses. Remaining within the hearts of all living entities, the Lord bestows remembrance by which the living entities can enjoy certain things. Thus, the living entities create their enjoyable honeycombs and then enjoy them. The example of the bees is appropriate because when bees try to enjoy the honeycomb, they have to suffer the bites of other bees. Because bees bite one another when they enjoy honey, they're not exclusively enjoying the sweetness of the honey, for there is also suffering. So the examples given in Bhagavatam are perfect. So Prabhupada said the bees are trying to enjoy the honey in the honeycomb. They all have collected. And then while enjoying that, the bees sting you. And they sting each other, obviously, while enjoying the honey. So the enjoyment is there, and at the same time, suffering is also there. In other words, the living entities are subjected to the pains and pleasures of material enjoyment, whereas the Supreme Personality of Godhead, knowing their plans for sense enjoyment, is aloof from them. In the Upanishads, the example is given of two birds sitting on a tree. One bird, the jiva or the living entity, is enjoying the fruits of that tree, and the other bird, Paramatma, is simply witnessing. In the Bhagavad Gita, the Supreme Personality of Godhead as Paramatma is described as Upadrishta, the overseer, and Anumanta, the permitter. Thus, the Lord simply witnesses and gives the living entity sanction for sense enjoyment. It is the Paramatma also who gives the intelligence by which the bees can construct a hive, collect honey from various flowers, store it, and enjoy it. Although the Paramatma is aloof from the living entities, he knows their intentions and he gives them facilities by which they can enjoy or suffer the results of their actions. So although the Paramatma is aloof from living entities, he still gives them the facilities. Not only that, he gives them the knowledge. So suppose I'm in a bee's body, a soul is in a bee's body, how would soul know that this is how I'm supposed to work? I'm supposed to go to the pollen of the flower, collect the whatever material, honey or whatever it is in the beginning stages, and then bring it to the honeycomb and then hide it there and it becomes honey after a while. How would I know? It's all guided by Paramatma. So he says, you're in the bee's body, you act like a bee. And how do we act like a bee? I'll show you. So the living entity in the body of the bee then acts like a bee. And then he collects honey. And then he has to eat the honey because this is the nature. This is what the bees do, and then they sting each other. And then if you go and try to collect the honey from their honeycomb, then all the bees will get together and sting you. But this is all guided by Paramatma. They cannot do on their own anything. So similarly, coronavirus. So somehow or other, we come in contact with it, and then the coronavirus gets inside us. It's all the Paramatma sitting within the body of that coronavirus is guiding that soul. Okay, you go in this body and then you act on this body and then you make this person sick, kill this person. This is what goes on. Even the living entity in say tiger's body, tigers the soul doesn't know in the tiger's body what to do. Paramatma guides him. And just like in us also, in this soul, in this human form of life, when we sleep at night, we forget basically who we are. In the morning, it's only Paramatma reminds us, okay, you're so and so, you're Indian, you're American, you're Chinese, you're man, you're woman, you're South Indian, you're North Indian, or whatever. Otherwise, we would forget who we are. That's why Krishna says, from me comes knowledge, remembrance, and forgetfulness. And then he reminds us, okay, you have this duty to do. You have this capabilities. And then we work according to that. And we think if by my doing, by my studying hard, I'm remembering everything, and then I write in the exam, and then I get good grades or bad grades, and then I become whether engineer or a doctor or whatever. It's all Paramatma doing. Thus the Lord simply witnesses, okay, human society is exactly like a beehive, for everyone is engaged in collecting honey from various flowers, collecting money from various sources, and creating large empires for common enjoyment. However, after these empires are created, the bites of other nations have to be suffered. Sometimes nations declare war upon one another, and then the human beehives become source of misery. Although human beings are creating the beehives in order to enjoy the sweetness of their senses, they are at the same time suffering from the bites of other persons or nations. The Supreme Personality of Godhead as Paramatma is simply witnessing all these activities. The conclusion is that both the Supreme Personality of Godhead and the Jivas enter into this material world. However, the Paramatma of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is worshipable because he has arranged for the happiness of the living entity in the material world. Because it is the material world, however, no one can enjoy any kind of happiness without inebriety. Material enjoyment means inebriety. Inebriety means in a mood of drunkenness or madness. Whereas spiritual enjoyment means pure enjoyment under the protection of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So spiritual world is completely opposite. That's why in the 15th chapter of Bhagavad Gita it was said that if there is a tree on the banks of a lake, and just like behind me, we see this the reflection at the reflection of Kusum Sarovar in the water. So it's exactly opposite. Of course, Kusum Sarovar is spiritual, the water is spiritual, the palace is spiritual, so it's all spiritual. But if we think of it in the material world, it's exactly opposite of the spiritual world. So here there could be little happiness and lots of suffering, but in the spiritual world, there is no suffering at all. Everything is supreme, pure enjoyment. Only suffering there is whatever little bit for, I don't want to use the term forgetfulness because nobody forgets Krishna, but whatever time we are away from Krishna, that's only suffering there. Otherwise, there is no suffering. It's all enjoyment. Sa esh lokan atichanda vego vikarshasi tvam khalu kala yanaha bhutani bhuter anumeyat tatvo ghana valir vayur iva vishaya. My dear Lord, your absolute authority cannot be directly experienced, but one can guess by seeing the activities of the world that everything is being destroyed in the due course of time. The force of time is very strong and everything is being destroyed by something else. Just as one animal is being eaten by another animal, time scatters everything exactly as the wind scatters clouds in the sky. The process of destruction is going on according to the laws of nature. Nothing within this material world can be permanent. All the scientists, philosophers, workers, and everyone else are trying to make things permanent. One foolish scientist recently declared that eventually life will be made permanent through science. Prabhupada says, one foolish scientist. All these scientists, they have so many degrees and so much of experience and so much of money being spent on their research work. And Prabhupada said, one foolish scientist. Some so-called scientists are also trying to manufacture living entities within the laboratory. Thus, in one way or another, everyone is busy denying the existence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and rejecting the supreme authority of the Lord. However, the Lord is so powerful that he destroys everything in the form of death. As Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Mrityu sarvharash I'm all devouring death. The Lord is just like death to the atheists, for he takes away everything they accumulate in the material world. Hiranyakashipu, the father of Prahlad, always denied the existence of the Lord, and he tried to kill his 5-year-old boy due to the boy's unflinching faith in God. However, in due course of time, the Lord appeared at Nrsimhadev and killed Hiranyakashipu in the presence of his son. As stated in Srimad Bhagavatam, this killing process is natural. Jivo jivasya jivanam. One animal is food for another animal. A frog is eaten by a snake is eaten by a mongoose, and the mongoose is eaten by another animal. In this way, the process of destruction goes on by the supreme will of the Lord. Although we do not see the hand of the Supreme Lord directly, we can feel the presence of that hand. Although the Lord's process of destruction, through the process of destruction, we can see the clouds scattered by the wind, although we cannot see how this is being done because it's not possible to see the wind. Similarly, although we do not directly see the Supreme Personality of Godhead, we can see that he controls the process of destruction. The destructive process is going on fiercely under the control of the Lord, but the atheists cannot see it. So to see or to feel the presence of the Lord, because we are not that pure, or our eyes are not that pure that we can see practically, but personally we can, but practically we can see it in the form of death, in the form of birth. He's there in the form of handing everything. He's there. Knowledge, remembrance, forgetfulness, light of sun and moon. Today is full moon day. We go out and see beautiful moonshine is there. So we can see, we can perceive the presence of the Lord. But to see him personally, we have to be very, very, very pure. In fact, So many acharyas, even though they see the Lord, still they were not able to recognize him. Afterwards, they lamented, "Oh, it was Krishna. Oh, it was Radharani, and I didn't realize, I didn't recognize. How unfortunate I am." But the Lord appears like that. Especially, it is said that whenever we go to Dham, like Vrindavan or other Dhams of the Lord, Lord comes to to help us. Lord comes to give us darshan in the way He wants. But since we are not pure, we don't really realize He's there. There's so many instances like Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami, they have seen the Lord. But obviously, Lord will not come. He can come. It's not that He cannot come, but He doesn't really show up in like yellow colored clothes and with a peacock feather on his head and playing on the flute. We have to have the eyes to see him. In fact, it's also I have heard that whenever we do Govardhan Parikrama, like we're beginning of the class, Radha Prabhu was discussing about Govardhan Parikrama, it is said that Giriraj personally comes and follows the person who is doing Parikrama. Giri Govardhan follows everybody who does Parikrama. And when he sees that the person who is doing parikrama, he wants some material benefits, he just gets disgusted and goes back, goes away. But when a person, a devotee, is doing parikrama and all he wants is service of Krishna, Giraji is very pleased with them and gives him blessings, tries to fulfill all his desires of giving service of Krishna. So they are there. They are there. We don't realize them. We don't see them. Pramattamocharati kritya chintaya pravriddha lobham visheshu lalasam tvam pramattah sahasabhipadyase chulle lihano ahir ivakumantakah. My dear Lord, all living entities within this material world are mad after planning for things. And they're always busy with the desire to do this or that. This is due to uncontrollable greed. The greed for material enjoyment is always existing in the living entity. But your Lordship is always alert, and in due course of time, you strike him, just as a snake seizes a mouse and very easily swallows him. So this is what we do, whole day, every day, mad for planning for things, this plan, that plan, to make money this way and that way, and to enjoy the senses this way or that way. This is all we do all day, every day. Not knowing any time death can come, any time. Everyone is greedy and everyone makes plans for material enjoyment. In his lust for material enjoyment, the living entity is described as a madman. And this is what Lord Shiva is saying. Not even Krishna or any other devotee. It's what Lord Shiva is saying, and people go to Lord Shiva, give some more material enjoyment. And he's saying this is crazy. The bewildered spirit soul, under the influence of the three modes of material nature, thinks himself with doer of activities which are in actuality carried out by nature. Everything is enacted by the laws of nature, and these laws are under the direction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The atheists or unintelligent men do not know this. They're busy making their plans, and big nations are busy expanding their empires. And yet we know that in due course of time, many empires have come into existence and been destroyed. Many aristocratic families were created by people in their extreme madness, and we can see that in the due course of time, those families and empires have all been destroyed. But still, the foolish atheists do not accept the supreme authority of the Lord. Such foolish people unnecessarily concoct their own duties without referring to the supreme authority of the Lord. The so-called political leaders are busy making plans to advance the material prosperity of their nation. But factually, these political leaders only want an exalted position for themselves. Due to their greed for material position, they falsely present themselves as leaders before the people and collect their votes, although they're completely under the grip of the laws of material nature. These are some of the faults of material civilization, of modern civilization. Without taking to God consciousness and accepting the authority of the Lord, the living entities become ultimately confused and frustrated in their plan-making attempts. Due to their unauthorized plans for economic development, the price of commodities is rising daily all over the world. So much so that it has become difficult for the poorer classes, and they're suffering the consequences. And due to lack of Krishna consciousness, people are being fooled by so-called leaders and plan makers. Consequently, the sufferings of the people are increasing. According to the laws of nature, which are backed by the Lord, nothing can be permanent within this material world. Nothing can be permanent. Therefore, everyone should be allowed to take shelter of the absolute in order to be saved. Otherwise, everything will be destroyed, everybody will be destroyed, all the achievements will be destroyed. Lord Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, the sages, knowing me as the ultimate purpose of all sacrifices and austerities, the supreme Lord of all planets and demigods, and the benefactor and well-wisher of all living entities, attains peace from the pangs of material miseries. Otherwise, it's all misery. This padam yatve padam natesham, and Krishna says, this material world is dukhalayam. Ashashvatam means temporary, and dukhalayam, place of misery. But one who understands, Krishna is the supreme Lord, he is the controller and joy proprietor of everything, and I'm here only to serve him in every capacity, every way possible. He's the only one who attains peace. If one wants peace of mind and tranquility in society, he must accept the fact that the real enjoyer is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Lord is a proprietor of everything all over the universe, and he is a supreme friend of all living entities as well. By understanding this, people can become happy and peaceful, individually and collectively. Otherwise, there'll be bees stinging each other. And this is what we have been doing in the past, we are doing now, and we will be doing in the future. Until we become devotees. But even in the devotional service, because we are still materially conditioned, struggling devotees, we still sting each other. So wonderful shlokas and purports. Kastvat padavajam vijhati pandito yaste avamana avyayam atmana ketana avyayamana ketana vishankya smud gurur archati smasyad vinopapattim manavash chaturdasha. My dear Lord, any learned person knows that unless he worships you, his entire life is spoiled. Knowing this, how could he give up worshipping your lotus feet? Even our father and spiritual master, Lord Brahma, unhesitatingly worshipped you. And the 14 Manus followed in his footsteps. The word Pandita means a wise man. Who's actually a wise man? The wise man is described in Bhagavad Gita as follows. Bahunam janmanam ante ma gyanvan mam prapadyate. After many births and deaths, he who is actually in knowledge surrenders unto me, knowing me to be the cause of all causes and all that is. Such a great soul is very rare. And this is what Lord Shiva is saying. Any learned person knows that unless he worships you, his entire life is spoiled. Krishna never said anywhere that one should worship the demigods. Although he clearly says, if you worship the demigods, you will get to go to their loka. But if you worship me, you will come to me. And anybody, even if one goes to Brahmloka, he has to go back to earth and take birth again. And here Lord Shiva is saying one has to worship you, take shelter of your lotus feet, unless otherwise his entire life is spoiled. So it's clear that who is the Supreme Personality of God. Krishna never said that you worship Lord Shiva. And he did say anybody worships the demigods, he worships me, but in a wrong way, avidhipurvakam. And any benedictions bestowed by the demigods, they're all temporary, transient in nature. So this is what Lord Shiva is saying. Anybody who has knowledge, he finally surrenders unto you. Thus, when the wise man actually becomes wise after many births and whimsical attempts at self-realization, he surrenders unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. Such a Mahatma or learned person knows that Krishna or Vasudeva is everything. Learned persons always think that life is wasted unless they worship Lord Krishna and become his devotees. Become his devotee. Srila Rupa Goswami also says that when one becomes an advanced devotee, he understands that he should be reserved and perseverant, shanti, and that he should engage in the service of the Lord and not waste time. Avyartha kalatvam. So there are qualities of devotees that Rupa Goswami has enlisted. He should also be detached from all material attraction, virakti, and he should not long for any material respect in return for his activities, manya shunyata. He should be certain that Krishna will bestow his mercy upon him, ashbandha, and that he should always be very, very eager to serve the Lord faithfully. Samutkanta. The wise man is always very eager to glorify the Lord by chanting and hearing Nam Gane Sadaruchi. And he is always eager to describe the transcendental qualities of the Lord. He should also be attracted to those places where the Lord had his pastimes. These are the symptoms of an advanced devotee. So he's always eager to serve the Lord. He has no desire for any respect for himself. Always eager to glorify the Lord by chanting and hearing. And he's always eager to describe the transcendental qualities of the Lord. Attracted to the places where the Lord had his pastimes. An advanced devotee or a perfect human being who's actually wise and learned cannot give up the service at the lotus feet of the Lord. Although Lord Brahma has a long lifespan, Brahma is afraid of death and consequently engages in the devotional service of the Lord. Similarly, all the Manus who appear and disappear during the day of Brahma are also engaged in the Lord's devotional service. In Brahma's one day, 14 Manus appear and disappear. The first Manu is Swayambhuva Manu. Each Manu lives for 71 yugas, each consisting of some 4 billion 4 million or what, 43 million 20,000 years. Although the Manus have such a long lifespan, they still prepare for the next life by engaging in the devotional service of the Lord. In this age, human beings only live for 60 or 80 years, and even this lifespan is gradually decreasing. Therefore, it's even more imperative for human beings to take to the worship of the lotus feet of the Lord by constantly chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. So the idea is everybody should take the shelter at the lotus feet of the Lord. When one is engaged in devotional service, he is often surrounded by envious people, and often many enemies come to try to defeat him or stop him. This is not new in this present age, for even in the days of yore, Prahlad Maharaj, who was engaged in the devotional service of the Lord, was harassed by his demoniac father, Hiranyakashipu. The atheists are always prepared to harass a devotee. Therefore, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu suggested that one be very tolerant of these people. Nonetheless, one has to continue chanting the Hare Krishna mantra and preach the chanting of this mantra, because such preaching and chanting constitute the perfection of life. One should chant and preach about the urgency of making this life perfect in all respects. One should thus engage in the devotion service of the Lord and follow in the footsteps of previous acharyas, beginning with Lord Brahma and others. So this is what Lord Shiva is saying. One should get into worshipping you and make his life perfect. So Prabhupada went through so many things in his purport, but ultimately it's always chant and preach the holy names and preach the glories of the Lord and about the urgency of making this life perfect in all respects. So this way one should always engage in the devotion service of the Lord. Athatvam asi no Brahman Paramatmam vipashchitam Vishwam Rudra Bhayadvas Tam Akutash Chid Bhaya Gatihi. My dear Lord, all actually learned persons know you as the Supreme Brahman and the Super Soul. Although the entire universe is afraid of Lord Rudra, who ultimately annihilates everything, for the learned devotees, you are the fearless destination of all. For the purpose of creation, maintenance, and annihilation of this cosmic manifestation, there are three lords, Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva, or Maheshwara. The material body is finished at the time of annihilation. Both the universal body and the small unit, the individual living entity's body, are susceptible to annihilation at the ultimate end. However, the devotees do not fear the annihilation of the body, for they are confident that after the annihilation, they'll go back to Godhead. So for them, there is no fear at all. Devotees are not afraid. Bhajahu Reman Sri Nandanandan Abhay Charanara Vindare. So one who does a bhajan of Sri Nandanandan, he has nothing to worry about, nothing to fear. If one strictly follows the process of devotional service, he has no fear of death, for he is predestined to go back to Godhead. The non-devotees are fearful of death because they have no guarantee of where they are going or of the type of body they are going to get in the next life. So that is why they say there is no next life. So just because they don't believe in the law of the Lord, they don't believe that there is next life and they will get in another body, it doesn't mean it's not going to happen to them. The law is a law. It is applicable to all, whether we believe in it or not, whether we know it or not. But this is going to happen. The word Rudra Bhaya is significant in this verse because Rudra himself, Lord Shiva, is speaking of fear of Rudra. This indicates that there are many Rudras, 11 Rudras, and the Rudra, Lord Shiva, who was offering this prayer to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is different from the other Rudras, although he is as powerful as they are. The conclusion is that one Rudra is afraid of another Rudra because each and every one of them is engaged in the destruction of this cosmic manifestation. But for the devotee, everyone is afraid of Rudra Even Rudra himself. A devotee is never afraid of Rudra because he's always secure, being protected by the lotus feet of the Lord. As Shri Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Kaunteya pratijani name bhakta pranashati. My dear Arjuna, you may declare publicly that my pure devotee will not be vanquished under any circumstance. So, Lord Shiva, although he glorified the beauty of, he described the beauty of the Lord, and then he is talking about the material world and talking about the devotional service. And now he's coming to the fear of Rudra, or the fear of living in this material world where the bees are stinging each other. So basically, he's trying to guide us one way or the other, take to the devotion service of the Lord. Either you love, understand, and love the beauty of the Lord, or you get afraid of this material world, the sting of the bees, other bees, and you take shelter, or have the fear of death and take shelter, have fear of Rudra and take shelter, whichever way it works. Just take shelter of the Lord. Take shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord. Because he's saying again and again, the devotee is not afraid. Nothing will happen to a devotee. Devotee is always protected by the Lord. And yes, he does. And there is no need to be afraid of death. So this is a special position of a devotee, actually. So I guess I'll stop here. See anybody has any questions or comments?
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. How are you feeling?
Good. I just wanted to know one thing, because you said that all the living beings, including the trees, have a propensity for sense enjoyment. And how do you describe the sense enjoyment of trees?
They are in so much of ignorance that they cannot move their bodies, but the desire is still there. So they can probably just look around, and with their eyes they can enjoy whatever they can.
Or is it that when they get the next life, then that desire becomes fruitified or something like that?
That is also true, because desire of either the tree life or the previous life, the desires are always there. They are stored in the mind. I can only remember these two trees, Manigriva and Nalkubar, the sons of Kubera. Yeah. When they got the curse by Narad Muni, they became the trees in the courtyard of Nanda Maharaj. But they were special trees, special not in the sense that they were demigods and they became trees. They were special because they remembered, even in the form of trees, the consciousness was little more advanced than the regular trees. So they remembered the mistakes they made and the curse they had of Narad Muni. So they were in more miserable condition. Although they were watching Lord Krishna playing around always, but they were in more miserable condition because they knew we were demigods and now we are stuck. So, but they could not do anything. Their bodies were not fit for doing anything else.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Who's behind you? Is it your phone? Yeah, somebody is behind you. Too much noise.
Actually, it is the housekeeping lady who is speaking. We are at Nandu's place, Anku's place.
She's the boss, so we cannot do anything.
She's the...
I'll just mute yourself because I wanted to say something else. It's just so just like the first verse of Damodarashtakam, I was reading some commentary. It's funny. Satyavrat Muni starts with Namam Ishwaram Sachidananda Rupam. What's the verse? So, Lasat Kundalam.
Gokule Bhajamana.
Yeah, but just the first line. Just the first line. Ishwaram Sachidananda Rupam. Right? So, he is praying to the Lord. Namam, I pray to you, Ishwaram, you Sachidananda Rupam. But then what? Lasat Kundalam Gokule Brajmanam. Okay, Lasat Kundalam, you have beautiful earrings. And Gokule Brajmanam, you're running in the fear. Fear of Yashoda Bhiyo Lukha Lad Bhavmanam. You're afraid of the stake in the hands of Mother Yashoda. Just one line before, he said, Namam Ishwaram, you're Ishwar, you're Paramishwara. But you're running in by fearing the stick in the hands of Mother Yashoda. So it's kind of doesn't make sense. It doesn't add up. But this is what Krishna is. And beautiful commentary I was reading. We are also afraid in the material world, but our fear is because bhayam dritya bhiniveshita syat, means we think I'm this body. That's what we are afraid of. We will lose this body, or we lose the possessions of this body. We lose the byproducts of this body. That's what we are afraid of. Krishna is not afraid of that. But he is also afraid of the stick in the hands of Mother Yashoda, because he has broken the pot and the butter is all splattered everywhere. Now Mother Yashoda is angry. But this was to increase the love of Mother Yashoda. This was to increase his love for Yashoda and Yashoda's love for him. Here in the material world, we are afraid, we are running around because we are afraid that we lose everything. It's a huge difference. So in the spiritual world, everything is spiritual. Every activity is to increase the pleasure. Here, every activity is, we are trying to increase the pleasure, but it is also all out of material fear of losing everything. Huge difference. Huge difference. But in the end, we'll lose everything anyway. At the time of death, everything will be taken away. But in the spiritual world, when the milk on the stove, in the pot, he saw that Krishna is drinking the milk from the breast of Mother Yashoda. He thought that Yashoda's milk is unlimited, Krishna's appetite is unlimited, so they will fulfill each other's desires. So what will happen to me? Why I'm living? Let me commit suicide. So he was completely devastated. And Yashoda Maya, then she put Krishna down and she goes to save that milk. But this is a job of devotees. They want to engage everybody in the service of Krishna. She said, no, don't worry. I'll engage you in the service of Krishna. Don't commit suicide now. This is a spiritual world. Krishna, when he was 6 days old, Putna came and tried to kill him. And when Krishna got hold of the breast of Putna, she ran outside. She was in so much of pain. And she was saying, Munjati, Munjati, Krishna, leave me, leave me. And Krishna didn't let go of her. Krishna killed her. And here Krishna is drinking from the breast of Mother Yashoda, and Krishna wants to drink more. And Mother Yashoda easily, with one hand, she puts him down and went to save that milk on the pot. This shows love of Yashoda is more than love of Krishna for her. So she could easily remove that Krishna from her breast. Putna could not. And Krishna was 6 days old then, and he is about 2.5 years now. And he could not hold on to the breast of Mother Yashoda. And Yashoda wasn't crying because Krishna was holding on to the breast and pressing her. No, it was love, full love. Putna was crying. Yashoda is not crying. So anyway, it's all about love between Krishna and devotees. And that's what Lord Shiva is also talking about. So that's all we have to achieve. So this month of Kartik is their very special month. Just do more and more devotional service and get mercy of Radharani to do. So she can bless us more and more with loving bhakti. Hare Krishna. I think I'll stop here.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, I need a solution. Outside my house, there are, like, as usual, there are plenty of Maharani Tulsi ji is there inside the premises. But outside also, Shama Tulsi ji is like, she is growing like anything. It's like on the main gate, she's coming very closer. It seems like she's just like trying to hug me as a son. So and like we were thinking, Prabhuji, my father and all, how do we can't even pluck it and place it somewhere, because I tried that and it got dried somehow. So any solution for it, Prabhuji? How to trim or some trim also we can't do it.
No, you can trim. No, you can
do
cut.
that.
Yeah, but with understanding that, oh, Mother Tulsi, I'm trimming you so that you don't get crushed by the gate or passers-by or something like that. You can trim. And whatever leaves you get or manjaris you get, you offer it to Krishna or Ram.
Yeah.
Just offer.
But what about, Prabhuji, when I want to place it somewhere else, like, because it's just grown up everywhere?
Well, as you said, it starts drying up. So maybe she doesn't want to move from there.
But I've also heard in winters it gets, I think, dried up because of the fog.
Because of cold weather. So you're supposed to, actually, when last day of Kartik or day after last day of Kartik, it's a Tulsi Shaligram Vivaha. So that time people put a red chundri around Tulsi, cover her with red chundri.
Yeah.
So although the chundri is very thin, it's not like a blanket. It's a very thin chundri, but it is said that chundri gives her warmth, keeps her warm. So you should do that.
No, I was just waiting for it.
Yeah, of course, at home we have it in a pot, so we bring the pots inside, but those, they are in the ground, so you put red chunni on her.
I had a lot of difficulties, Prabhuji, because on the slopings also from the main gate, everywhere Tulsi ji was there, and I had to just pluck it, use it for kada or something, like offer it. So it seems like she's giving that
ashirvad. For kada, first you offer Tulsi and then you make the kada.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
After offering only. But just that it was on the slopings from where you have you just go out and come in. it was very difficult, Prabhuji, just in case if she's touched.
So you can trim her
Yeah, I'll do
branches
that.
a little.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Okay. Thank you all. You all have a wonderful and safe day. Hare Krishna. Jai Shri Ram.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Jai Shri Ram.
Hare Krishna.
Jai Shri Prabhupada.
Guruji, thank you so much. Jai Shri
Jai
Prabhupada.
Shri Prabhupada.